So this is the one thing that's holding your clothing brand back. The most common thing I see is the rat race. So basically one brand comes up with a dope idea and then everybody else sees that it's blowing up, and then everyone tries to get out that exact same product as fast as they can so they can capitalize on the market. This is a sales first approach, and in the business world, this approach is 100% the right way to go. Again, the saying is it's much easier to tread with water than against it. So basically, if you're going against the market and you drop a new product, it's harder to push out rather than a product that's already trending and you're just flooding the market with your design so you can capitalize on those people who missed out on a product. For example, the Y2K trend and like those sort of designs are very trendy within the ATL market, but everywhere else they're starting to die down a little bit. And the new trend now is just basics. And that's stuff like, you know, just basic polyester sweats that are heavy GSM, 600 grams. And, you know, it's a luxury aesthetic, but it's not necessarily more exciting or newer than the whole Y2K, very heavy graphic stuff that you see in the ATL streetwear scene. So basically people are kind of moving away from that Hellstar aesthetic. I know Hellstar has just built their own reputation and that gallery department aesthetic and going more so into, you know, quiet luxury. It doesn't mean that your brand and what you're doing is wrong. That's just your focus. So you focus on your market because there's still a lot of people hungry for it. I'm just referring to those people who kind of, you know, trend hop and then think they're better than everyone else, when in actuality, it's just how business goes. It's basically the season and you basically have to follow the season that you're in. Now, let's say you want to be different and you want to stop this whole wave of back and forth, trend hopping, and you want to be the person who drops the product that explodes before everyone else. That just comes down to planning your actual drops. Now, with most larger clothing brands, for example, ones who are a bit more established, they have their drops planned out almost a season or two ahead because you're much more ahead of the curve in terms of manufacturing. Let's go back to the original analogy we talked about in relation to something drops and everybody tries to copy that drop. So firstly, that thing drops, now you have to design, and then now you have to go to manufacturing and then sampling and then hoping you get it in time so you can shoot content with that. And from like design to production to having it in your hands, that's going to take around 3 weeks. And depending on how big the trend is, it might die down by the time you get to that point. So I'm doing this little collection for the streamer Bruce Drop'em to tie into my whole designing X for X streamer is clothing brand. So I'm basically just pitching myself to these people and just pitching myself to everyone else because, you know, these do pretty well. It comes down to planning, and I've kind of planned this out pretty well. So you guys watch me design this piece, and then you guys watch me design just a basic t-shirt, which I kind of just freestyle. I didn't have that one planned out too much. So that's why in that video, you have me going back and forth. In actuality, that design would take me about 30 minutes. But again, planning is very important. So I look at trends, and it's my job to basically look at trends and then design for brands based on that trend. So what we see coming forth into the new season is a lot of people are going back towards Polo as a reference. So Polo and True Religion, I think, is going to be the main reference. In the last couple of seasons, everyone was kind of referencing Hellstar, Balenciaga, and then a bit of like Stussy. That was like the design language was that. No matter how you look at it, I can tie every single brand that I've seen into those three categories. So what I'm seeing next in these next wave of designs is more so, you know, Ralph Lauren polos, because I've seen a few brands do that, and that's coming off the wave of the whole soccer brand aesthetic. So everybody liked the soccer jerseys, and they're still doing really, really well. I did a few designs for a few soccer jerseys, and they kind of all sold out because soccer jerseys were in, and then everybody started doing soccer jerseys, and then your local department store starts to do their own soccer jersey, and then it kind of, that's when the trend kind of starts to simmer down a little bit, but then you start to find micro trends within that. What I see with people moving forward is they're going to be doing designs similar to this, and that's going to be the wave moving forward. So I'm in this project for Bruce, I'm going to be really focusing on pieces like this. And I had a comment before asking me, hey Will, where do you find your referencing for your graphics? So mainly I use everybody's favorite referencing site, which is Pinterest. But if you want to be a bit more different, I would highly recommend you go out and thrift and get referencing that way. I have a Discord with some of my other design friends, and we collect our own referencing. So we go thrifting and take photos and then reference off that, because it's a lot harder for someone to have the same idea as you if they don't have the same referencing. But there's also an issue with this as well. When you're referencing, you never want to copy a design one-to-one. Even though copying a design one-to-one is not an uncommon practice within the design industry, especially when it comes to clothing. You even see it with big brands like Balenciaga. Like, in terms of the graphic, it's just basically what you already see, and they're just rebranding it as Balenciaga. Another example of this would be Cactus Plant Flea Market and the brand identity of the Broken Planet. So they basically took that idea and basically ran with it, and that became their whole branding concept. Obviously, they've offshoot and pivoted as they grow, which is a very smart way of going up within the design industry. That's basically what you're doing. You're kind of filling the market of what's missing. So if everybody wants Balenciaga sweats like this, and these Balenciaga sweats are $3,000, and you can make something similar for your brand that's $100 or even less, $50, you have filled a market or a gap that's missing, and you can capitalize on that. And that basically comes down to basic business. Now, let's say we want to, again, I'm a designer, so I like to learn with actual visuals. And let's say we want to redesign this logo. Okay, that was just a little quick overview of this logo. So we have the original reference here, and then we have our variation, just a quick 20-minute design, 10-minute design. The main things you want to take away from a one-to-one direct reference is, firstly, custom typeface. So drawing in your own typeface. I did a really rough rendition of it within Illustrator using the pen tool would be the main key, because if you're using the same fonts in the same design style within the same emblem, it gets too similar. So again, you see that their language is very, rounded still, but it still has that cool looking edge. I just went with a more sharper, like metal band sort of rendition of that. And then I kept the font, as in, the secondary font, quite similar to the original. Again, theirs is a bit sharper, ours is a bit more curved. And then instead of Jeff Matt, I put a DO family. But again, I follow the design language of this logo, but I still made it my own in some sort of shape or form. It's not the best logo, but I wanted to show you a visual example of taking referencing compared to just directly ripping something. Because again, it is quite easy for me to go into Photoshop and flip this over, because this is a B and a H, and I could easily flip this over to a B&H and make that the official logo for this graphic. Other things you could do is simply just changing the colors up. Because these colors are very similar to the original, just spending some extra time and finding out what your brand's color palettes are, or if you already have your primary color palette, just have a go and play with the colors. Make it whatever you want: green, blue, orange, whatever you feel is best for your brand identity. So you go through a lot of revision when it comes to running a clothing brand and going to publication. And that is the hardest part. I've been through thousands and thousands of samples just to execute something like a hoodie logo or something like that. And that is quite wasteful. But in a sense, if you're a perfectionist and you want your brand to be perfect, and you want your end customers to receive the highest quality, that's what it takes. To summarize, the main thing that I think takes away from most people's clothing brands is, one, they try to hop into the rat race and realize it's too late, and then they kind of complain when things don't work out because you try to follow a trend and that trend is now no longer there. And two, you're kind of forgetting what your brand identity is. So if you don't have a brand identity, you're going to fall into the trap of trying to fill the market when it's already too late. And then you're going to realize, damn, I didn't make it quick enough. And then you're going to be just stuck with some stock that you can't do anything with. But everything is trial and error, and you have to stay consistent within what you want to do. So again, find out who your target audience is, design around them, and also try to play within trends, but try to keep it within your target audience.